Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Tim and Jim Show, a very pre-Christmas, around the holidays episode. And so we're feeling very festive around these parts. And we're so excited to welcome you to the show today. I'm Tim Sohn here under the snow here in Northeast Pennsylvania. And my business is Sohn Social Media Solutions. I produce and plan virtual events and live shows for brands and nonprofits that want to make a bigger impact in the world. And I'm so excited to be here for this show. Jim, take it away, my friend. And happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all the things.
Yes. So I'm super excited today that we have my friend Stu Heinecke on with us. Stu is an amazing guy. I thank my friend Jeff Sheehan for introducing us. Back when you could meet people in person, he just happened to be in Atlanta for a charity event. Stu is known as the father of contact marketing, and you're probably like, "What's contact marketing?" Well, we're going to find out a little bit about that today. But he's also an amazing cartoonist. His cartoons are in the Wall Street Journal, and I'm sure some other places that he can tell us about. Wow. But he was actually doing a charity event for, I believe it was the Red Cross. And with Delta, I might have
actually, that. It was the Cancer Society.
The Cancer Society, yeah. Yes.
Big one.
And but yeah, so we got to have lunch, and that's where Jeff had been telling me about his books, and he was just releasing this book, which is the second book that he had written. The first one is How to Get a Meeting with Anyone. I've got that on Kindle. That's why I'm showing you this one. But it's eye-opening, and if you haven't read these books, go over to Amazon. Buy them. We're gonna have him on Amazon at some point here to talk more about this stuff. And we've got one of your fans here. Tim Lewis has joined us all the way from jolly old England. I hope you're doing well, Tim Lewis. He's another great friend. And another one of my favorite people, Megan Powers.
Hey, Tim.
Merry Christmas. Oh, Merry Christmas Eve. I hadn't thought about that. So Stu, tell us a little bit about yourself, and let people know what makes Stu tick.
Oh man, I'm drawing a total blank. Well, as you said, I'm one of the Wall Street Journal cartoonists. I've always been a cartoonist and a marketer. I've always had those two things. That's what I studied in college, that's the work I've been doing professionally. But I always wanted to, from very early on, I wanted to mix the two, and I did. And it led in this very, very interesting direction, two interesting directions, because one was I discovered that there's a magic to cartooning and to cartoons that was inescapable and very, very powerful for direct mail campaigns. And I went out and I connected with publishers, the big magazine publishers. They used to do a lot of direct mail. They were the most sophisticated users of direct marketing, actually. And so they used a lot of direct mail, and I created test campaigns, and I blew them out of the water. I blew their controls out of the water a lot of the times using cartoons with personalization. So there was a cartoon on the front, and people loved them. And they put them up on, most of the direct mail that was sent around in those days was based on teasing people, and it was like there's teaser copy and so on, teasing people into the envelopes. And mine was totally different. It was just, I was entertaining you into the piece, and people would actually take my mailings and stick them up on their refrigerator doors and keep them around for years. So now the thing is, to get through to the publishers to start that business in the first place, I ended up using something I didn't know what to call it. I called it a contact campaign, and eventually contact marketing. But I used prints of these personalized cartoons with a letter. And I when I first started out, my first two assignments, Rolling Stone and Bon Appetit, and both of those two beat the controls, meaning they set new records. And so I sent a print out and said a cartoon print with a letter to, I don't know, about 24 VPs of circulation or consumer marketing at these big Manhattan-based print media companies. And I said, look, this is the device I just used to beat the controls for Rolling Stone and Bon Appetit, and I think we should put these to the test for your titles. And that campaign to, I guess, about 24 people, resulted in 100% response. I got through to all of them. All of them. They were all really saying, "Really? Yeah." They were really interested in what I had to say, and so all of them agreed to meetings. So I went out to New York, met with them, and all of them became clients. And this came from a campaign that I sent to 24 people that cost me about $100. That was contact marketing. That was my first content. That was my first experience with it. So yeah, that's my background, and that's where I came to write about contact marketing. These two books that are over my shoulders, and then of course the next one. But that's where it all comes from.
Yeah, and so today we're going to talk with how one meeting can change everything, and some other stuff that Stu's working on, and so I think it's been really amazing to me because, and we'll talk about a little bit more. I mean, I guess I had never really thought of contact marketing, and to your point, by just really reaching out in a different and unique way, you've had some amazing opportunities come before you, and I mean, and when you if you even dive into the book sometimes. You're like, wow, I never would have thought of that. So Tim, you want to
Yeah.
start with our first question?
Absolutely. So, what is contact marketing and what can businesses do to get started?
Well, contact marketing. It's a form of marketing that I discovered has been going on a very long time. I didn't invent it at all. I jumped in and participated in it, like a lot of us do. And so, what it is, though, is it's a form of marketing in which we focus first of all on that handful of people, just like I just described with the publishers, that handful of people who can change everything about our scale. I mean, there are companies out there that if they became our clients, that are our dream clients, right? Or others that have huge sales channels. Jim, you're working with Amazon, huge sales channel, right? So making those kinds of connections can change our lives. So we focus on making those connections, and we do that with micro-focused campaigns. And this is where it gets really fun, because they need to be audacious and clever and interesting and insightful, because we're interrupting someone's day when we reach out to them and they don't know us. So we need to humanize ourselves, and we need to put ourselves out in a way that has the people on the receiving end of this saying, "Oh my God, I love the way this person thinks. We've got to meet." So I suppose that's contact marketing. It takes a lot of forms. You can send stuff. You can send visual metaphors. I use my cartoons. I mean, I wouldn't have stopped after that one experience with the publishers. I kept going with that as well. So cartoons and visual metaphors and lots of things that we can do online or even with email, but certainly with Zoom. I mean, right now we're having this golden moment for getting and having meetings right now, because this is what face-to-face meetings looks like right now. We don't travel. And so we'll get back to traveling. Life will get back to normal. But right now, and for this past year, we've had this amazing opportunity to just connect with people on Zoom, and we'll continue to do that. So it just caused an explosion of opportunities and probably interest in having meetings because people have more time. So that's and you asked what can businesses do to get started? I think one is orient yourself toward having meetings on Zoom. I've seen some really, really interesting stories of people sending some sort of a coffee themed thing. Like I guess you could send something like this and put it in a box and send it with a Keurig. Maybe, I was going to say a Starbucks card, but maybe a Keurig pouch, and just say, "Hey, I would love to share a cup of coffee with you on Zoom. Let's talk about whatever." Right? And people have more time. They're not traveling. They're not commuting. So they have more time, and I think they're sort of looking for more stimulus. Stimulus wasn't the right word, was it? Actually, they're not looking for a check per se, but they're looking for something that's more stimulation. And so you can when you send something like what I just showed you, that coffee spill, that's fun. They're going to keep that on their desk the rest of their careers. So.
Right.
Be audacious, send things. I'd love to show you one of my, I just mentioned that I send an 8x10 print of a cartoon, about, a personalized cartoon to each of 24 recipients. That's morphed into this now. This is what I call a big board. So this is what I use and what my clients use what I do for clients to help them break through. So it's an 18 by 24 inch, quarter-inch thick foam core board, and on the front there was a cartoon about the recipient still, and then there's on the back there's branding and messaging explaining who you are and why you want to meet the next steps, and then it gets shipped out in packaging that looks like this. Well, is this, with a FedEx air bill on it, and you open it up and there's crushed zones, and there it is. There are all kinds of ways to reach out. And think about it. You could do almost anything, and as long as it's insightful and you look at it and say, oh, that directly relates to what we're doing or what we're thinking about, and you'll be amazed at when you're audacious at what happens on the other end of that. You end up getting meetings that change everything, and so there are just so many things you could do to jump into it. I guess we could talk about more ideas as we go along. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, and I remember too, one of the ones you did, and I think you did this in a wooden box, is when you sent one to Billie Jean.
Yes.
And Billie Jean of marketing, as a lot of people know, and they actually did a video of on their Instagram, and you ended up having a meeting with him, right? I mean, that wasn't somebody.
We're going to do something. I don't know what we'll do. We'll team up in some way.
Yeah.
I love his assistant because she filmed her reaction as she opened that piece, and it was. That's the one thing when you send a cartoon or anything. When you send something out, whatever it is you're doing, you're not there to see the reaction, unfortunately. And but you're not. Well, by definition, that you're not there to see them. I mean, if I sent this thing out to you, I'm not there to see you go, oh my God, look at that. This thing's cool. But she filmed her reaction to it, and it was just. I couldn't have hired I couldn't have hired an actress to do a better job. Her voice was incredible. Everything was just incredible in the video. I'll share it with you. If there's a way to share it somehow, and maybe even put it in later, we'll have to do that. Her reaction is priceless. It is.
We can put that in the show links. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
we'll have to do that.
So that kind of leads to my next question. I mean, like I said, how to get a meeting with anyone and get the meeting were eye-opening for me. And you've talked a little about some of the action steps, but I know in the book you go into some strategies that I think a lot of us wouldn't think of. And it's as an example, for those that don't know, which I doubt is very few, Tim is a huge aficionado, is that the right word, of Dunkin' Donuts. So if you knew that, right, that would maybe be a way that you would approach Tim to maybe get a meeting with him. And those are the things that people don't think of, or like we talk about, you're talking about in a sense, one of the gatekeepers, right? How do you get past the gatekeeper? You talk about a lot of these things, and it's amazing what these actions, this contact marketing has led to. Can you talk about that a little bit more, Stu?
Yeah, well, you hit two really important topics, or parts of contact marketing. One of them is, you mentioned executive assistants. How do you get past them? You don't get past them. You create an ally in them. They're incredibly important. So I call it in the books. I call them VPs of access or talent scouts. Think of them either way. Or I guess another one you could think of, if you're reaching out, if you're speaking to the executive assistant to the CEO of the company, that executive assistant, they might not agree with this, but let's think about it. They report to the CEO just like the rest of the C-suite does, right? They work probably a little closer with the CEO than the rest of the C-suite does. They're a member of the C-suite. They're incredibly important. So actually, I counsel that you include them in your campaigns. And a really simple example of that might be, I just showed you the big board, the cartoon board. Well, when we send those out, we often will reach out to the executive assistant ahead of time to say, if I'm sending it to your assistant, Jim, I would reach out to your assistant. I would say, hi, my name is Stu Heinecke. I'm one of the Wall Street Journal cartoonists, and I'm reaching out because I'm sending a print of one of my cartoons, and it's about Jim. And your assistant will probably say, "What? Really?" Yeah. So look, the thing is, I want it to be a surprise to Jim, but not to you. So would you mind if I send you an email with the details, and I'll send you my contact information? And usually the response is, "No, not at all. Here's my email address. Here's how you spell my name." And so that process involves the assistant. It takes the assistant into account. The assistant is part of it. And as a result of that, by the time we're done, the assistant will get 4 touches before the big board even arrives. So that assistant is actually quarterbacking our campaign from the inside. That's what you want to do with assistants. You don't want to try to circumvent them. And I get asked that a lot. How do you get around? How do you circumvent assistants? And you don't, or you shouldn't. You do that at your peril. You've broken the process then. And they won't like you for it. And look, people call them gatekeepers, and that's only a tiny part. It's like they should calling them letter openers or something. It's a really tiny part of what they do. They are they're also there. I mean, they're helping their executive to achieve their goals. They know exactly what those goals are. They're really an important part of their team, and certainly they are keeping the wrong people out. And they've got to make split-second judgments about who should be connecting and who shouldn't be. But the important part of that is they're also making judgments about who should be connecting. And you need to involve them in your campaign. So that's one thing. Then you also mentioned Dunkin' Donuts. Now I know what to send Tim. So, but Tim, the thing that's really interesting about that is people are using deep personalization. There are 2 forms of personalization now. It's split. So when I was creating all those mailings that were personalized, all we knew was the person's first and last name and their address. And sometimes we didn't even know that. Sometimes it was like a first letter, L. Smith. What do you do with that? But well, you stick it in the caption anyway. We just have to write it carefully. But so what we knew was, let's say if it was a mailing for Forbes, well, we knew that they were probably they might be investors, or certainly stock investors. They were interested in performance of companies and executives and backstories of companies. So we knew that, and so we could then there was a persona that we could use and sort of write to. And we did that. So that's broad or wide personalization. But personalization has changed a lot recently, well, somewhat recently, but with social media. Now, all of a sudden, we're telling everybody about who we are, what we're interested in, what we like. I don't know, just here's our picture. So do whatever you want with our pictures. And so everything's out there for everybody to see. So if you do a little bit of research, or a profile scrape, to find out what you might be able to send to someone to sort of, I just show that you're paying attention, I suppose, but otherwise just send something that they're really, really interested in. I'm like, for me, you could send me a catamaran. That would be great. That would really get my attention. but if I wanted
we'll get on that, Jim.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to reach out to Tim, Dunkin' Donuts, that's a great tip. I mean, just sending Tim a gift card might go some of the way. I don't know what you're really interested in, Tim, but there are probably passions that you're talking about, and that's just true of everybody. And so there are amazing stories of people tapping into what someone's true passion is, and sending them something based on that, and just asking, "Hey, I'm sending this because I know you're interested in falconry or something, whatever it is." But I'd love to talk to you. I would love to get a couple of minutes with you. You'll get those couple of minutes with them. So, that's a really simple way of doing it. You don't have to create this complicated campaign. I mean, I just showed you the big boards. Those cost $250 a piece. You could be spending a lot less, on a gift card, for example, to Dunkin' Donuts, right? So,
yes.
So you can send almost anything. I mean, I guess it has to be relevant, but I'm just saying that could be almost anything, right? And it doesn't have to be terribly expensive. It could be. I mean, you could send someone. This would also work for me. you could send someone a certificate to go fly in a MiG or some jet fighter, and if they were really interested in that, you'd have my attention totally from that. So there are those kinds of things that you don't have to put together a formal campaign. You can just be looking at what they're interested in and respond to it.
Yeah,
That's a great
amazing.
point. Jim, what would do it for you? What would capture your attention?
I don't know. It's so many things that would capture my attention.
Something sports related, maybe?
Well, yeah, sports related would
That's a
work.
good one.
But sports is a little tough right now. I mean, we did go to the Falcons game on Sunday. Not that I'm a Falcons fan, but we had to wear masks and social distancing. But it was bizarre because you don't really have the full crowd noise, and it was interesting. But so looking forward to that, in the future. But yeah, sports. I'm a fan of as what they call it, the Washington football team, that's in first place despite being 6-8. It's crazy.
Wow. Wow.
But I would but I want to wait till they get their new name before I get any of their new gear, because I don't know, maybe the football team stuff will be worth something. But yeah, I think too. I was amazed. Like I want to say it was yeah, I mean, just some of the stories in the book of the way that these people were able to, by taking one action. And I learned about in the book too, a product that Stu hooked me onto. It's called seamless.ai.
Yeah.
And Seamless will allow you to go in, and as an example, if I click on your LinkedIn profile, it'll take me to your all your networks. And so then I can do exactly what Stu's talking about. I can sit there and say, okay, maybe you're not that active on LinkedIn, but then I see you're active on Instagram or Facebook, and I can start to say, okay, does Tim really run on Duncan, or is it something else? And, because that's the other thing, right? Don't ever assume, right? If I were to send you a Starbucks card, you might be angry. It's like, you obviously don't know me. And I think we see that a lot in LinkedIn today, right? Where we get these cold pitches with a connection. It's like, hey, can I help you with your HR department? It's like, well, I'm an HR of one. So, I always
department.
Yeah. I tell myself that I need to take vacation, and then I say, no, I'm not listening to you. But
I've been getting a lot of messages on LinkedIn lately saying, since you're an SEO agency, we thought we should reach out. And I am not an SEO agency.
These automated connection requests on LinkedIn now, especially. Oh my God. You can see that the copy is written very carefully so that it's misleading. And we know the same people, or there's some way to call in something in common, but you can see that it's absolutely generic. And in fact, one guy sent one and it said "Dear F name" in brackets. Somehow it didn't,
No.
The program didn't work. But those are horrible. This is to make human to human connections.
Yeah.
So that's what all of this is about. When you want a meeting with someone, I mean, if Tim, what a great example, because look, they need to know something about you, don't they? Since you're an SEO, you run an SEO agency, you should know that, whether that's actually true or not. And they don't, or they didn't. This person didn't. They don't know that. Do a little bit of work and find that out, because if you're relevant, stop pitching and start, talking and asking and understanding. Actually, understand ahead of time what your value could be.
Right.
But certainly, check it out. Be a human being. What do? We don't just go in and make assumptions as well, and then start talking. And that's not how we meet people. That's not what we do when we first meet someone. You don't pitch someone just because you met them in an elevator. Be a human being.
Right. So we're going to take a quick commercial break from our sponsors at StreamYard, and we will see you guys on the other side.
And we're back.
See what I got to
Oh my
work
God.
with here, Stu.
What happened to Tim?
You see what I got to work with here, Stu. I tell you.
Jim.
But I love Tim.
Yeah,
I love
I can do something like this.
saying it on national social media, right? So Tim, you want to take our next question?
I would love to. So, Stu, tell us about your new project, Desktop Contact Campaigns and Bottomless Box Memberships.
Oh man, thank you for asking because I'm just so pleased you asked that. Here's the thing: in my books and in that research, my research of all these different things that people have done to create connections, handwritten notes and personalization always came up as elements of that. So you could do something like what Dan Waldschmidt did. I have it in both books actually, but his sword campaign. He sends swords to CEOs and they're engraved with their names and
wow.
And it costs him $1,000 every time he does that, Tim. I mean, that's incredible. So,
Wow.
I mean, you know, it works out and he's getting 100% response or all that. It's an amazing story, but it costs $1,000 every time you send one out. So, so I was thinking, well, look, cards are an amazing format, especially now, because people just don't send things. I mean, right now they're sending automated connection requests on LinkedIn. It's not the worst thing you could send, but you know, if you use uncrowded channels, I think that's really wise to do that. If you think in terms of doing that, nobody's sending around handwritten notes right now, so do it. Use that. And the other thing is that we can generate cards from our desktop PCs and laser printers right now. It's really simple to do. And so, so now personalized cartoons is my thing. So I've been using my personalized cartoons my whole career to get all kinds of leverage. And one of the things that I noticed is that I had this one cartoon that shows this guy at a payphone in the desert, like on Route 66 up here. Here it is. He's on Route 66 somewhere, and at an old broken down gas station. And I use that cartoon anytime someone's not calling me back. Like, how often does that happen? It happens to all of us, right? So Tim, if you weren't returning my call, the caption on that cartoon would be, "Hi Tim, it's me. It's the guy at the phone again. He's at the payphone there." So this guy, he's at the payphone.
What's that?
He's leaving you a message, and he's saying, "Hi Tim, it's me again. Listen, I don't know if you've been checking your voicemail all last week, but I'm still here at the same number waiting for your call." So this poor guy's been sitting there at the gas station for a week, waiting for you to call him back. And I think it's a great way to just say, a really, really disarming way to say, "Hey, dude, you're hanging me up. Come on, call me back." Right. And so, and it works. It works really well. I would say about 98% of the time it gets people to call me back if they weren't. And so that's one. Another one, we all go through this situation where let's say we have proposals out and then they just stall. And so and like getting them unstuck is hard, but not for me, because I have this little secret weapon, this cartoon. So this one, you can see the guy's cradling the phone on his shoulder and he's leafing through some papers. And so what I started doing was sending that out as an 8x10 print. And the caption read, "Hey, listen, we got your proposal and we like everything except having to pay you." And so that's usually the problem, right? I'm like, wait, I have to pay you too? So, and I'll send that out either as a card or a print with a note. And the note says, "Hey, dear Jim, or Jim, sorry it didn't work out this time. Maybe next time." So really, the message is, I'm pulling it back. That proposal you're sitting on is no longer any good. And about at least 50% of the time, I mean, we never know why these things are stalling, but I would say about 50% of the time, people pick up the phone. "Oh my God, wait a minute! I did mean to do that. I was waiting to hear from a guy. I don't know. So let's just do it." So I have this kit of these cards. And this one is personalized now. So now it says, "Hey, Jim, listen, we got your proposal and we like everything except having to pay you." So they're all these personalized cartoons that I use to unstick the proposals and get people to call me back or request a meeting or wish someone a happy birthday. And so I put those all together as a set of editable PDFs that you can use on your PC. And so you go in and you edit the name, print it out, and you use a device like this. It's really like $40 on Amazon. And you can trim and score the card, and then you end up with these really professional looking cards. You can this is printed out on 12-point Chrome code, and it would have your logo and contact ID. I mean, your contact details on the back, and then you put a little handwritten note inside, and hand address the outer envelope, and you have a beautiful little device for breaking through, because there's that handwritten element. There's the personalization, and anyway, that's what Bottomless Box is all about. It's an annual membership, and you get to use these cartoon cards to propel your business further. And it's really interesting because a lot of times the friction point is, well, it's people to people, and so if someone's not calling you back, you're not going to get. There's no deal to be had,
Right.
or if they're not responding to your proposal, or if you can't get meetings with them, nothing happens. So these remove or let's say address these friction points in business really quite effectively. So that's what it's about.
That's just amazing. I think it's been really neat seeing how you've evolved, from, like, in a sense, right? You started out as a cartoonist, I guess, and then you have seen how using your talent, not only have you been able to help well, now you are helping others
Oh yeah.
through your art, and and have really helped. You are the father of contact marketing, and that's from the American Marketing Association. And in fact, I think your books, is it one or both of them are in, like, the top 64 books?
This one, How to Get a
Yeah.
Meeting with Anyone. Yeah. Hey,
Yes.
I actually didn't set out to write a sales book even.
Right.
So I'm blown away by that. Yeah, I mean, so it's up there with Zig Ziglar and I don't know, I mean, a lot of the great authors today that you've probably been on your show, like Mark Hunter and Jeb Blount and so on. It's Anthony Iannarino, and then a lot of Napoleon Hill is in that list. So yeah, that's it's a huge shock. I was going to say honor, but really, it's a huge shock
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah. And Rose wanted to know, what are some other ways to reach out? Do you have some ideas on that?
Yeah, well,
Or-
I'll tell you one thing. Right now, I think we're in a time of golden opportunity for meetings, because COVID caused us to change a lot of what we do, and certainly a lot of how business to business selling happens and how meetings happen, because these are face-to-face meetings now. This is what it looks like. We're streaming it now, but on Zoom and so forth, that's what it looks like. Those are face-to-face meetings. So people aren't traveling. Like, remember, you call and you try to get a hold of somebody. Well, they're traveling for the next week. Oh, shoot. Well, there are no eclipses of time like that right now. And people aren't commuting even. So, or they walk downstairs, get a cup of coffee, and that was their commute. And they're on Zoom. So, and because we're working from home, I think that there's probably a little more openness to having conversations we might not have had before. We have a little more time to do it, and I don't want to say bored, because I think that this is a great thing for people for people in business to be able to work from home, and then locate those. I mean, people are doing that from Park City and Jackson Hole. This is a golden time for meetings right now. So certainly I would be inviting people to do a Zoom session. I've really heard some really cool things about sending. Someone in London was saying, "Hey, we can't go to the pubs, but here are a couple of beers. Let's share a couple of brews on Zoom." That's pretty cool. And I don't know that I would do that, because some people might not be into consuming alcohol, but I think I showed this before. I don't know if I did, but
Yeah.
this guy, and this would be a really cool thing to send to someone and say, let's share a cup of coffee on Zoom, because look,
I love that.
this is a visual metaphor. Rose, you
Yeah.
asked what else can you send, and visual metaphors are a great one. They're sort of a visual gag. It's an object, but it's a gag. It represents spillage, wastage, loss. You're not going to, if your coffee spills, you're not going to drink it. You lost it. right? So
True.
you could be talking about insurance. You could be talking about all kinds of really interesting things. Risk management or risk mitigation might be another one, or just loss of opportunity in the marketplace. Sales could be sales. So how do you prevent that from happening when during COVID-19 and lockdowns? Or you could be doing you could be inviting people to roundtables on Zoom. Zoom is an incredible opportunity right now for having meetings, just in general. But panels and it's expert panels and roundtables are incredible right now. So thank you, Rose. I saw that. That's very nice of you. Let your imagination go nuts. I'm not Gary Vaynerchuk, so I won't say fucking nuts. But let it go nuts. You can do all kinds of things. This is an opportunity to have a lot of fun. But
Well, and Stu, we had a chance to do that earlier this year. I mean, we're hosting several. I mean, they really were just roundtables where a bunch of us got together and
yeah,
talked about ideas to keep everybody, shifting. And I really enjoyed that. And I think it also really helps build that know, like, and trust. In fact, I will tell you, I miss those meetings too. If you want to start them back up again, just let me and Jeff
oh,
know.
we got to do it.
We'll do that.
You know what I want to do is I'm writing my new book about weeds, and we could go on for easily another hour about
Well,
that. But
speaking of that, let's go to that. So that is, yeah. What are you working on now? Let's talk a little bit about that.
I'm in the midst of writing a book that is changing my life as I'm writing it. It's weird. It's like I'm reading it too. I'm okay. So look, it's about growth. It's a business model, a business growth model based on weeds. We've all been out in our yards looking at the dandelions, going, "Oh no, here they come again!" And you see them, and you don't just see one. You see they're all over your lawn. How did that happen? Well, we know exactly how that happened. They have processes and tools that they use and attributes that they use, and they're just relentless and resilient and aggressive, and they cause growth. They're showing you a growth success story right in your lawn, if you're looking for it, right? But the thing is that they have a process that they use that we can bring into our businesses, and actually you could apply it to anything you want to grow. You could grow your finances with this. You could grow a movement with this, or your career with this. But I'm focusing on growing businesses with the WEEDS model. And WEEDS is an acronym for Weed Inspired Enterprise Expansion and Domination Strategies. And
Wow.
I'm studying these. There are weeds out there that are what they do and how they do it. They don't do anything without building in an unfair advantage. I mean, do we realize that when you look at dandelions? Do you realize that that's what they're doing? That, and they don't do anything without scale. Everything they do is about creating scale. I mean, you don't, as I said, you don't see just one dandelion in your lawn. Suddenly you see them and they're everywhere. So how can we create scale? How can we learn from them and create scale in our businesses? And how can we be more like them? Because they're just so relentless and aggressive, but also optimistic. And as I say, as I'm writing this, it's changing everything. I ended up rowing on my rowing machine, my first 100K challenge on the rowing machine, because the weeds are saying, dude, you don't wait till you have the motivation to do this. So if you want to be optimistic like we are, you let actions lead your emotions. Don't let emotions lead or dictate your actions. So go and do what it is you would do if you were feeling optimistic and excited. And I realized, well, one of the things I'd be doing is a lot more working out. Poof, I just started it and I feel totally different. And it just feeds on itself. So the weeds they're unbelievable. There's this one weed that, I don't know if you want to hear about it. There's this one weed that is just, I mean, dandelions produce about 15,000 seeds each plant in their lifetime. That's bad enough. But there's this one weed, the water hemp, that is taking over agricultural fields, which they're nothing more than disturbed, or they're just disturbed ground. Anyway, they move in, and They they wreak havoc. Each plant can produce up to 4.8 million seeds. Each
Wow.
plant. You're never getting rid of that weed. And what they do with their seeds, the way that these seeds spread, we've seen dandelion seeds fly around. That's already, we know how they show up everywhere. That's how they do it. But there are other seeds that do that even more. And you can see the seeding area of one single a Canadian fleabane plant from space. It's that big. Because they fling their seeds that far. It's unbelievable. They're an amazing metaphor for growth, and they're amazing guides for how to make that growth happen.
That is amazing, and I think too, I think we had talked about this before, right? It's like even on a driveway, a concrete driveway, you'll see a weed grow.
Yeah, they
It's like,
find it.
well, nothing can grow there, but it figures out a way to do it.
Yeah,
And I think, yeah, as I'm really looking forward. I know we have to wait right now till 2022, but I'm looking forward to that book. I think it's going to be amazing, and I think I just love how you really make us, think outside the box. I think that's so important.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it keeps things exciting, and yeah, even the idea of like you said, that writing your book, your one chapter, you're like, oh, I need to start working out.
It changes everything. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird because what I have to do is translate, I guess, the intent of weeds because they don't speak to us. But what are they doing? And what would they say to us? And they act optimistically. This all started because I was driving down the Santa Monica Freeway a long time ago, when traffic used to move really fast in LA, and there were there's 6 lanes on either side, so 12 lanes of freeway, and then about 40 foot wide strip of concrete median. And in a crack in the concrete, I saw this dandelion growing there, and it just looked happy. It just like, ooh, moving around in the smoggy turbulence and just unfurling its process. And I thought, man, that's just incredibly impressive because, first of all, in this sea of impossibility, all this concrete, it found a way. And you would think, well, how did it do that? But then we know exactly how it did that. It's those seeds that are highly mobile. They blow around everywhere. They find every crack. They stop at nothing. They're relentless. And I just thought, I hope that I can live up to that example in my career. And obviously I was much younger then. That I can live up to that in my career and in my businesses. I want to live up to that standard. I want to do exactly what they're doing. And so they're just amazing. They just, and also I would say that you mentioned a crack in the driveway. You notice that a rose bush doesn't show up there, or a petunia, right? There's all these polite plants. It's weeds. There's something really special about weeds that causes them to find every experience possible, every opportunity, I should say, possible, and exploit it. And that's what we need to do as business people.
Absolutely. Well, Stu, this has been amazing. So excited that, and we've been talking about this for over a year about getting you on the show, and so I think it was perfect that you're our last, I will say, single guest show for 2020. And hopefully people will think of as people start to recharge. I highly recommend reading Stu's books and coming up with some ideas for contact marketing. And a couple notes for folks. This is the last episode of the Tim and Jim Show that will be on our business pages. It's starting next week. You need to go over to the Tim and Jim Show on Facebook to catch this content. And we're obviously still going to be on YouTube and LinkedIn, at least until March on Twitter, because Periscope is apparently going to be shut down as well. But next week, Tim, what are we doing?
Yes. We're so excited that next week we are going to have surprise guests on as they will look into their crystal balls into 2021 and what we're predicting in terms of the future and what that will hold for next year. So everybody make sure to come back next week, same time, same channels, for another episode of the Tim and Jim Show. And we'll just have to keep you in suspense who the guests are. I don't think we can let them out of the bag, right, Jim?
No, we can't.
Well, I know who they are, and I'm telling you right now, you want to check it out. You really want to check these out. They're amazing. Sorry, I shouldn't have said
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
that's okay, but they
No,
are
it's
going to be
true.
amazing. But yeah, Stu, thank you again so much. This has been great. We've had a lot of comments. We've had and Stu, if you'd like, please feel free to share the links for maybe that folks that might want to check out the your contact campaigns as well as the bottomless box, because I know that's definitely something people want to check out. I know
I
I
want to check that out.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'll get you the links. I'm sure you can share them, I guess, afterward. So yeah, happy to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Stu, Tim, I guess it's Merry Christmas Eve. Wishing you both a Merry Christmas, and hope everybody is staying warm. Tim, I don't know if you're still having snow. We might have snow here in
I
Atlanta.
think it's snowing in his apartment.
Yeah, it was. And we'll see you all next week, and we'll want to hear all about all the gifts you guys got for the holiday season. So thanks again, everyone. And Tim, you want to take us out?
Let's do it.